Good morning to everyone tuning in, and welcome to this breaking news special report. We are broadcasting live and tracking a developing story that has absolutely ignited social media, stunned the global sporting world, and turned an international airport into a scene of absolute pandemonium. If you have been scrolling through your news feeds or social timelines in the last 6 hours, you have undoubtedly seen the footage, you have witnessed the massive crowds, and you have seen the sheer unadulterated passion that is currently sweeping across the Middle East like a tidal wave. The headline currently flashing on your screen is not an exaggeration, it is not clickbait hyperbole, it is the absolute reality unfolding on the ground right now. We are calling it the Zayed Shock, a moment of viral intensity so powerful that it has transformed a standard flight departure into a massive national event. Alexandra Eala, the Philippines' tennis sensation and the undeniable pride of Southeast Asia, has just departed Abu Dhabi bound for Qatar. And the chaotic scenes at the terminal are unlike anything we have witnessed for a professional tennis player in very recent memory. Let us set the scene for you properly. For the past week, Abu Dhabi has effectively been the epicenter of Asian tennis in 2026. The Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open was not merely a tennis tournament, it evolved into a full-blown pilgrimage for thousands of fans. Legions of Filipino expatriates, tennis fanatics, and curious onlookers packed the Zayed Sports City International Tennis Center, turning every single match involving Alex into a deafening electric home court advantage. We witnessed absolute miracles take place on that court. We saw comeback victories that completely defied all conventional sporting logic. We watched a doubles partnership blossom with Indonesia's Janice Tjen, a duo dubbed the Southeast Asian Queens that captured the hearts of the entire region. But what transpired today just hours ago at the airport signifies something much larger than just a simple game of tennis. As Eala arrived at the terminal to catch her flight to Doha for the prestigious Qatar Open, the situation escalated rapidly. Reports coming into our newsroom suggest that airport security was briefly overwhelmed by the sheer volume of fans waiting to catch just a fleeting glimpse of the 19-year-old superstar. We are talking about an endless sea of smartphones waving flags and handmade banners stretching as far as the eye can see. The videos currently circulating online, which are trending at #1 in the Philippines, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, display a level of stardom usually reserved for K-pop idols or Hollywood royalty. This is a tennis player ranked outside. The top 40 generating the kind of fervent hysteria that world #1s can usually only dream of. Why is this happening? Why is the entire airport in a state of shock? Because Alexandra is no longer just an athlete, she has crossed the threshold into becoming a bona fide cultural icon. The shock factor is not just about the massive crowd size, it is about the intensity. It is about the realization that Asian tennis has firmly found its new face in 2026. This departure to Qatar is not just a standard travel itinerary, it is a powerful statement. Eala is headed to Doha for a WTA 1000 event. This is a massive step up in competition, and she is carrying the momentum of a historic week in Abu Dhabi. In this broadcast, we are going to break down exactly what transpired over the last few days that led to this massive viral explosion. We will discuss the miracle in Abu Dhabi, her stunning victory over Aliaksandra Sasnovich, where she essentially came back from the dead to win a match she had absolutely no business winning. We will analyze the heartbreak of the quarterfinals against Ekaterina Alexandrova and ask why. Despite the loss, Eala's stock has never been higher than it is right now. We will dissect the doubles run that proved her incredible versatility, and crucially, we will look ahead to Qatar to see what awaits her in Doha. Can she replicate this magic on an even bigger stage? But first, we must truly understand the magnitude of what we are seeing at the airport today. This viral moment is the culmination of years of hard grind struggle and carrying a heavy burden. When you see those fans screaming her name at the departure gate, you are seeing a massive release of national pride. The Philippines has been waiting for a global tennis superstar for decades. They have celebrated champions in boxing and billiards and in weightlifting. But tennis is a truly global stage, and seeing a Filipina stand toe-to-toe with the giants of the sport in the heart of the Middle East has struck a deep nerve. The Zayed Airport headlines you are seeing, likely a reference to the Zayed International Terminal, are capturing a specific moment in time where sport transcends the scoreboard. The shock is real. The viral nature of this departure is a testament to her massive impact. She isn't just leaving a country. She is carrying a legion of supporters with her to the next battlefield, so you better buckle up. Over the next hour, we are going deep. We are going to analyze every serve, every volley, every quote, and every viral clip. We are going to explain why this specific departure to Qatar is the tipping point in Alexandra Eala's career. This is not just news, this is history in the making. The world is watching, the airport is buzzing, and Alex Eala is on the move. Stay with us, this is the deep dive you have been waiting for. Let's transition now into the heart of this story. To understand the chaos at the airport today, to understand why security lines were backed up, and why social media is in a total meltdown, we have to rewind the clock. We have to look back at the last 120 hours in Abu Dhabi. This wasn't just a tournament, it was a crucible. The narrative began the very moment Eala touched down in the UAE. We are well aware that the Middle East is a temporary home to millions of overseas Filipino workers, the dedicated OFWs who keep the region moving. For these industrious communities, Alex Eala isn't just an athlete. She symbolizes a profound connection to home and hope. She embodies a standard of elite global performance hailing directly from their roots, proving that talent from their homeland can compete on the world stage. Whenever she takes to the tennis courts here in Abu Dhabi, it doesn't feel like away territory. It is as if she is competing right in her own backyard, surrounded by extended family. The Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open organizers were fully cognizant of this dynamic. They deliberately placed her fixtures on the center court not due to her WTA ranking, but because of her massive box office appeal, and she absolutely lived up to the hype. We have to discuss the igniting spark of this tournament, that intense round of 16 showdown against Aliaksandra Sasnovich that set the tone for the week. If you happen to overlook this contest, you effectively missed out on one of the most spectacular demonstrations of sheer determination and grit we have witnessed throughout the entire 2026 season so far. Sasnovich is a seasoned tour veteran. She brings toughness, vast experience, and a reputation for striking the ball with incredible flatness and power. Statistically, she was the heavy favorite going in, and for the opening set and halfway through the second, the predictions held true. Eala appeared completely outgunned, committing numerous unforced errors throughout the court. Nerves seemed to get the better of her early on. The colossal audience, aching to vocalize their support, found themselves muted by Sasnovich's commanding control of the game. Eala dropped the first set 2-6. Trailing deep in the second, the situation appeared dire. Her shoulders were slumped, signaling defeat. Suddenly, the momentum shifted entirely. Sports commentators frequently discuss the intangible X factor, often reducing it to a cliche, but in this specific instance, that game-changing element was undeniably the spectators. The chants of "Let's go, Alex" began to swell, not as a victory lap, but as a defiant roar against impending loss, and Eala absorbed that energy to fuel her comeback. She began driving through her forehand with more authority. She started painting the lines with precision. Remarkably, she scraped her way back to take the second set 6-4. Then we arrived at the third set, the ultimate decider. This is the moment where legends are forged. Eala slipped behind, once more facing a break deficit. She was looking squarely into the eyes of defeat. Sasnovich was stepping up to serve for the match. In the footage that has since gone viral across social media, the stadium's tension is palpable. The silence was so profound before each serve that you could hear a pin drop followed immediately by a deafening eruption of cheers every time Eala secured a point. She managed to break back against the odds. She pushed the game into a tie break, and in that critical tie break, she unleashed a brand of tennis that was utterly devoid of fear. When Sasnovich's final shot drifted beyond the baseline, the stadium didn't merely applaud, it absolutely exploded. That instant defined the match. That was the catalyst. That victory did more than simply propel her into the quarterfinals. It electrified and united the entire Filipino community in the region. It sent a clear message to every supporter in the stands: I am here to battle on your behalf. That triumph explains why the airport terminal was packed today. Fans don't turn out in droves for a player who exits in the opening round. They congregate to witness a warrior. They are there to catch a glimpse of the young woman who stubbornly refused to surrender against Sasnovich. However, the narrative continued beyond that match. We absolutely need to examine the Southeast Asian phenomenon that unfolded alongside her singles run. This is a crucial element of our analysis as it highlights Eala's development while teaming up with Indonesia's Janice Tjen. This alliance was as much a diplomatic victory as it was an athletic one. We witnessed the Philippines and Indonesia, two heavyweights of Southeast Asia, uniting on the court. They rampaged through the doubles bracket. They dismantled established seeded duos. They successfully advanced all the way to the semifinals. Why is this relevant to her dramatic viral departure for Qatar? Because it demonstrated that Eala is genuinely finding joy in her game. It proves she possesses strong volleying skills, excellent net coverage, and leadership qualities. The on-court chemistry between Eala and Tjen was simply contagious. They were constantly smiling, exchanging high fives, and interacting with the spectators. This positivity cushioned the disappointment of her singles elimination and maintained high fan engagement all week long. Now we need to address the quarterfinal defeat at the hands of Ekaterina Alexandrova. We must remain objective in our assessment of the match. Alexandrova is a top 15 caliber athlete. She represents a completely different level of challenge compared to Sasnovich. She competes with a velocity and accuracy that Eala is still adapting to. The scoreboard read 3-6, 3-6, a defeat in straight sets. However, let's examine the statistics more closely. Eala wasn't simply washed off the court, she stayed competitive in the rallies. She generated genuine breakpoint chances. The distinguishing factors were the service game and the conversion rate during critical moments. Alexandrova has been touring professionally for a decade. Eala is still in her teenage years. This defeat serves as a tutorial, not a failure. Yet even in the face of this loss, the fan support remained steadfast. Actually, the support intensified. This brings us to the present moment, the departure. The journey from Abu Dhabi to Doha is a brief flight physically, but metaphorically, it represents a massive leap forward. The Qatar TotalEnergies Open is a WTA 1000 event. This is truly the major league of tennis. This is the arena where giants like Swiatek Sabalenka and Gauff compete for the highest honors. Whether Eala secures a place in the main draw or starts in the qualifiers depending on the final cutoff, it represents a colossal opportunity. The viral footage from the airport, the shockwaves dominating the headlines, is the tangible proof of these soaring expectations. The fans at the terminal were doing more than bidding farewell. They were deploying her to battle. They are fully aware that the challenge in Qatar will be significantly more grueling. They understand the opposition is fiercer. The incredible density of the crowd at the Zayed International Departure Gate sent a clear message. We stand with you, win or lose. Let's break down the viral video itself. What are we actually witnessing? We see Eala maneuvering a luggage trolley encircled by security personnel. Yet she pauses, she signs autographs, she poses for selfies with the fans. Regardless of the mayhem and the overwhelming number of people present, she maintains her composure. This is the hallmark of a true superstar. Countless young athletes would buckle under such intense scrutiny. They would retreat to the safety of the VIP lounge. Eala, however, walked right through the main entrance. She engaged. That genuine humility, seamlessly blended with her fierce intensity on the court, creates a potent marketing cocktail that brands find irresistible. It is precisely why major sponsors are beginning to circle like sharks. It explains why the WTA social media team is churning out content about her around the clock. She is an absolute engagement machine, but now we need to pivot and look at the road ahead. What exactly are the ramifications of this viral departure scene as she touches down in Qatar first? And foremost, we have to talk about the immense pressure. The frenzy at Zayed International proves that Alexandra Eala is no longer operating in the shadows. She has fully arrived. Her opponents in Doha will be acutely aware of who she is, knowing that stepping onto the court against her means battling the crowd too. The so-called Eala army travels in droves, and we are anticipating a massive turnout from the Filipino community in Doha as well. This completely alters the competitive dynamic of her matches. While the noise can certainly rattle her rivals, it also places a heavy burden of expectation squarely on Alex's shoulders to deliver a win. Second, let us discuss the rankings. Currently, Eala is hovering somewhere in the 100 to 150 range, depending on how the live rankings shake out this week. A deep run at a prestigious WTA 1000 event like Qatar offers a treasure trove of points. If she can secure even just 1 or 2 victories in Doha, she could catapult herself into an entirely new tier of the professional standings. We are talking about the potential to secure direct entry into the main draws of Grand Slams like Roland Garros and Wimbledon later in 2026. Consequently, the stakes in Qatar are astronomically high for her career trajectory. Third, we must address the evolving narrative of Asian tennis dominance. For years, the Asian tennis scene was headlined by the legendary Lina, followed by Japan's Naomi Osaka, and more recently the powerhouse Zheng Qinwen. The Philippines has never really had a singles player involved in that elite conversation until now. Alexandra Eala is shattering a long-standing glass ceiling for her nation. The viral nature of her movements and the fan response suggests the global tennis community is more than ready for a new demographic to take center stage. That shockwave at the airport was the sound of a sleeping giant stirring the massive Southeast Asian tennis market is finally waking up. We also need to discuss the logistical nightmare of this incident. Emerging reports indicate that the airport staff at Zayed International were completely caught off guard and unprepared for the sheer size of the mob. This speaks volumes about the rapid, almost overnight rise in her celebrity status. Typically, that level of security detail is reserved for rock stars or visiting heads of state. For a professional tennis player to require such extensive crowd control measures within the UAE is virtually unprecedented in the sport's history here. It suggests that both Eala's management team and the tournament organizers might have severely underestimated the Eala effect. As she transitions to Qatar, you can bet that security at Hamad International Airport is already being briefed on what to expect. Expect massive crowds. Expect deafening noise. Expect the phenomenon that is Alexandra Eala. Let us dig a bit deeper into the technical aspects of her game that are generating all this excitement. During her stint in Abu Dhabi, we witnessed distinct improvements in her service speed. We observed a much more aggressive return of serve against Sasnovich. While her mental fortitude grabbed the headlines, her forehand down the line was the true tactical weapon. She is hitting the ball with significantly more weight and authority, and her movement around the court has sharpened. However, against Alexandrova, a clear weakness was exposed the second serve. It proved to be highly attackable against top-tier opposition, and that vulnerability could be costly. You can guarantee that her second serve will be the primary target for opponents in Doha. If she has tightened that up in the few practice sessions between Abu Dhabi and Qatar, she has a real shot at causing some upsets. If she has not made those adjustments, it will be a significant struggle, but honestly, the legions of fans do not care about her second serve percentage right now. They care about the fight and the spirit she brings. This shock is also about the realization of time passing. We have effectively watched Alexandra Eala grow up before our eyes. We watched her capture the US Open Junior title. We watched her grind through the tough ITF circuit in Spain. We witnessed her battle through painful injuries. And now suddenly she is causing airport lockdowns across the Middle East. It feels like a graduation moment for her career. She has officially graduated from a promising junior talent to a bona fide tour sensation. Those viral videos circulating online serve as her graduation ceremony. As she lands in Qatar, the narrative shifts dramatically from a homecoming which Abu Dhabi felt like to an invasion. She is now invading the territory of the tennis elite. The Qatar Open is notoriously unforgiving. There are absolutely no easy matches to be found. Every single player in that draw is a stone-cold killer on the court. But Eala has serious momentum on her side. She has the adrenaline of that wild airport send-off coursing through her veins. You have to wonder what is going through her mind right now as she sits on that flight. Is she watching the viral clips of the crowd on her phone? Is she scrolling through the comments, or is she locked in studying game tape of her next opponent? Knowing Eala's work ethic, it is almost certainly the latter. She is intensely professional, but even she cannot ignore the noise anymore. The noise has become an inseparable part of the package. This viral event also raises important questions about the responsibilities of both the media and the fan base. The headlines about an entire airport being shocked suggest a level of disruption that can actually be dangerous. We saw fans pushing against barriers and security personnel shouting to maintain order. While we celebrate the passion of the supporters, there is a fine line. We want Alex to be safe, and we want her to be able to focus entirely on her tennis. The shock factor is exciting, but it must be sustainable as her fame grows. The level of access fans currently have to her will inevitably have to decrease. This might have been one of the last times she could walk through a public terminal even remotely casually. From now on, it will likely be private exits and VIP transfers. So those fans at Zayed International today witnessed the end of an era and the dawn of a new one. Let us circle back to the destination Qatar. The nation has invested billions of dollars into their sports portfolio. They crave stars and they crave global headlines. Alexandra Eala arriving with a viral media storm at her back is exactly what the tournament director in Doha dreams of. Expect her to be placed on a show court immediately. Expect primetime scheduling to maximize viewership. The business of tennis is ultimately about selling tickets. And right now, Alexandra Eala sells tickets. More importantly, she sells hope. To wrap up this deep dive analysis, let me be crystal clear that absolute frenzy we witnessed was no accident. It was the inevitable result of a perfect storm brewing in the desert, a massive, passionate population of overseas Filipino workers, a heart-stopping comeback victory, and the magnetic charisma of a young star rising to the occasion on the Middle East swing. If Abu Dhabi was merely the spark that lit the fuse, then make no mistake, Doha, Qatar is poised to be the full-blown explosion. As we conclude our wall-to-wall coverage of Alexandra Eala's absolutely viral exit from the Emirates and look ahead to her campaign in Qatar, one realization stands tall above the rest. The entire landscape of Philippine sports has undergone a seismic shift. We are way past the days of whispering about potential or what-ifs, as we are now witnessing a tangible moving force. Just look at the incredible footage streaming out of Zayed International Airport. That airport shock, which has likely dominated every single one of your social feeds by now, is not just digital fluff. It is undeniable proof of a nation uniting in lockstep behind a singular generational talent. Alexandra Eala flies into Qatar, carrying much more than just her racket bag. She arrives as the bearer of a nation's collective dreams. But let's be real, the road waiting for her in Doha is going to be incredibly steep. The Qatar Open is notorious for being a brutal battleground, stacked with the absolute best players on the planet, meaning she could hoist the trophy, or she could bow out in the opening round. That is simply the unforgiving nature of professional tennis, but what she has already secured over these past few days is a monumental victory that you will not find on any scoreboard. She has not just played matches, she has galvanized and united an entire community. She has forced millions who likely never watched a match before to suddenly care deeply about tennis, and while viral videos might fade and Instagram stories vanish after 24 hours, the electricity in that airport, that swelling sense of national pride that sticks around and that endures long after the feed refreshes. Rest assured, we will be right there tracking her progress in Qatar every single step of the way. Asking the big question, will she send shockwaves through the world again in Doha? Will the Eala army turn the stands of Qatar into a home game just like they did in the UAE? I think we all know the answer is a resounding yes, but for now, wheels are up. The airport crowds may have dispersed, but the message they sent was delivered at maximum volume, loud and clear. Alexandra Eala has truly arrived on the world stage, and she is taking every single one of us along for the ride, so thank you for joining us for this deep dive, and keep your eyes locked on Doha. The next exciting chapter of the 2026 season is about to unfold, so good night and let's go!